How many friends have you made today? Chapter 9, Part 2. This is Anon's last chance. If he can get Fluttershy to like him, then he is set. Plus, she might even understand his need for meat. He approaches their house and quickly knocks on the door. It doesn't take long for Fluttershy to answer the door, and she's surprised to see Anon here. She knows that he really wasn't having a very good time interacting with ponies in town, but why is he here though? Hey Fluttershy. Anon starts. I would like to talk to you about something. She hesitates to let him in. She isn't afraid of him, or even believe those awful rumors about him. She's always been a very shy pony, so most would say that she's acting normal. She gives a slow nod and lets Anon enter. She then closes the door behind him. He looks around and takes in the sights. Definitely looks more like an animal hoarder than a caretaker. He doesn't actually say that, but it's on his mind.
Please, take a seat.
Fluttershy points to a couch. He gives a nod as he takes a seat. They both fall into an awkward silence. Anon tries to think of what to say. So, you like to take care of animals? Fluttershy feels her nervousness gradually disappear.
I've been taking care of animals since I was just a filly,
she says with pride. Anon gives a nod and a silent thanks. There is no way that she hasn't ran into a mediator before. Alright, can I ask you some questions about your animals? Fluttershy nods in excitement.
Sure.
What do you feed them? Fluttershy rubs a hoof to her chin.
Well, they all eat different things.
Anon nods. So, like, fruits and stuff? Fluttershy nods. Meat. He says the last thing under his breath, and Fluttershy freezes some. She isn't too sure if Anon will understand. Most ponies don't. That's why she never tells them. She gives a slow nod.
Some of them,
she whispers, and Anon can feel an internal sigh of relief. She does understand. I'm gonna level with you, Fluttershy. Anon is now sitting on the edge of the couch. I never told any of the other ponies about this, mostly out of concern. He pauses some. I eat meat as well as fruits and vegetables. Fluttershy is genuinely shocked. Most carnivores she knew had very large teeth, but then again Anon does have all the signs of a predator, his front-facing eyes being the most prominent feature.
Really?
She asks, and Anon nods. Really? I was wondering if maybe you could help me? It slowly dawns on Fluttershy what he's asking.
Oh, well yes, of course. It must simply be horrible to starve yourself.
Anon actually gives a genuine chuckle. Other than Pinky, no other ponies have ever shown even the slightest bit of concern for him. I'm not starving, Fluttershy. It's mostly for just a balanced diet. Anon adds, and she gives a few nods.
Of course. I have some fish in the freezer if you want them.
Anon nods. Would you? That'd be great. Fluttershy quickly gets up and flies towards the kitchen. Anon can't believe how his luck is turning out to be. Not only did this pony understand, but she's even giving him something to eat. He's gonna have to repay her somehow. He then feels something tap his hand. He looks down and notices a small rabbit standing in front of him. Oh, hey there, Anon says as he pats the bunny on the head. That is, until the thing clamps down onto his hand. God damn it! Anon throws his hand back. The bunny goes flying through the air and smashes into a wall. He then hears something fall to the right of him. He looks over and spots Fluttershy. Her eyes are wide and her pupils are like pinpricks as she looks at the bunny that is lying on the floor. He isn't dead, but he isn't alright either.
How dare you?
She whispers. Fluttershy, I didn't mean for—
How dare you?
She screams as she flies right into Anon's face. Anon can only sit in shock as this pony looks directly into his eyes. And that's when he felt it. Something is starting to bubble up inside of him, and before he can look away or try to stop it, his vision turns red. Fluttershy is staring into the eyes of Anon. Most of the time, her stare happens on its own, this being one of the cases. Not only that, but it usually unlocks the most buried thing inside of a creature. Most of the time, it's fear. But she didn't realize how much she messed up when she did this to Anon. She didn't unlock his fear, no. She unlocked his rage. Unfiltered, untainted rage. Anon's face turns to a more animalistic one as he plows his fist into the side of Fluttershy's face, the hit being enough to toss her across the room. Anon quickly rises to his feet, ready to jump on top of her and continue the beatdown. That is, until he feels something tackle him down. Well, more like many small things tackling him. In his blind rage, he tosses about, trying to get whatever is holding him down, but something far larger pins him next. A loud roar is screamed into his ear, and Anon throws his head back without thinking and smashes into something with great force. He rolls over and notices a small bear lying on its back, holding its muzzle. He stands up and walks over to the bear, ready to teach it a lesson.
Wait!
He hears a scream pierce through his subconscious, and he looks over as the red starts to fade. Fluttershy is panting heavily as she leans against the wall. It's then that he realizes what just happened. How? Why? He can't even process this as he quickly runs out of Fluttershy's house, and he doesn't even stop as she tries to call out to him. Anon's gaze is stuck on his glass. I avoided Fluttershy at all costs after that day. I still don't know what came over me. One moment I'm happy, and then I snapped. He rubs the back of his neck. I added her to the list so I wouldn't forget. Not like I would've anyways. He lets out a long sigh as he looks up to the princesses. Both of them are still in a state of shock. Celestia has heard from Twilight about this stare that Fluttershy can do, but she wasn't aware of how powerful it actually was. To think, it could turn Anon, a passive individual, into a mindless animal. Anon picks up his list and tosses it into the center of the table. Word spread again. Rumors about me beating Fluttershy this time. Hate isn't even the right word to describe how the town felt for me. Anon looks up to see the slight glimmer in both the princess's eyes. It wasn't all bad. They look to him in hopes that it does get better. After I was almost raped by Lyra. Luna slams her hooves on top of the table with such force that she manages to leave large dents into the 12-inch thick mahogany. And then Celestia drops a glass of water that she had in her magic. The entire room falls silent for only a fraction of a second.
What was it thou hadst just said, Anon?
Luna screams in her cantal-out voice. Luna, calm down! Anon yells over the impressive wind force that Luna is creating.
Nay, we will not sit idly by as such filth walks amongst our ponies.
Luna then looks to her sister.
Sister, we request that this pony be made an example of. A beheading is all that will teach these ponies right from wrong.
Celestia actually wants to agree. She can't stomach the thought that something like this could happen. There needs to be action. Hey! Anon shouts. Luna quickly calms herself as she notices the scowl Anon is giving her. No beheadings! He shouts. Just let me finish, alright? They both calm themselves as they give reluctant nods. Rape might have been too strong a word. Anon tries to approach this cautiously. More like she was very, very forward in her attempts to, well, have sex with me.
Pick your next words carefully, Anonymous.
Luna warns.
You may accept and ignore easily, but my wrath is 1,000-fold. I will not rest if I think that these ponies deserve punishment.
Anon gulps a little at that. Alright, he's not gonna lie, but he isn't gonna get Bonbon's girlfriend beheaded. She was in heat, Anon says. I didn't know what that was. She invited me into her house, talked to me, and she was very nice. Then she offered to show me her room. So I accepted, and I didn't see anything wrong with it. He rubs the back of his neck. Next thing I know, she locks the door and has my entire hand in her mouth. His cheeks get slightly red. She's moaning and stuff, and I had no idea what was happening. He clears his throat some. But that's when Bonbon found us. She quickly pulled me out of her room and locked Lyra inside. She took me into the front room and, of course, was angry as can be. She thought I was trying to steal her girlfriend. I explained to her that Lyra invited me in, and eventually I convinced her that I had no idea what was going on. She told me Lyra was in heat, and even took the time to explain what heat was. Both of the princesses calm themselves a bit more. Heat can be a very strong thing for ponies. It can turn even the most civilized mares into animals. However, most stallions can smell a mare in heat from a mile away, so they can avoid them easily. Bonbon and I got to talking. She ran a candy shop, and one thing leads to another, and she offered me a job. And that's how I got the candy-making job. He chuckles nervously. So it wasn't all that bad. He then lets out a sigh. That's pretty much the gist of it. He picks up his glass and downs the entire thing. Afterwards, he sets his glass down. So there you go. You know everything.
That was quite a story, Anon.
Celestia speaks. Yep. Anon nods.
But I have one more thing that I want to know.
Anon looks to her with a raised brow.
Will you let me help you?
she asks. Anon feels his heartbeat catch. He will admit that he felt a great deal better after telling Celestia and Luna everything. Celestia. Luna. They both look to him. I'm afraid of the thought of you helping me.
But why?
Celestia asks. It's just... What if I become someone else? It's scary, but... He lets out a sigh. I think I do want your help, Celestia. He then looks to Luna. Like I said to your sister, friendship is about trust. It's about give and take. If I can't trust you to or allow you to give to me, then we aren't really friends. He feels his fist clench some. I'm going to trust you too. My entire being is yelling at me not to, but I think it's time to grow. Celestia and Luna rise from their seats and approach Anon. They don't hesitate as they wrap their wings around him in an embrace.
Thank you,
they both whisper to him. Anon chuckles a little to himself. If he told him that he would be in a situation like this sometime in the future, he would have called you crazy. Yet life always seems to be filled with surprises. Maybe coming to Equestria wasn't as random as everyone thinks. Perhaps it was his last chance to grow, as well as help the princesses to grow as well.
Anon.
Celestia pulls away from Anon with a determined look.
What most of the elements did to you is criminal. I only tell you this out of respect, but I cannot allow them to continue on without punishment.
Anon didn't really want things to get complicated. However, he can see that Celestia will not let this slide. If this is how she wants to help, then that's her choice. Luna rests her head onto Anon's shoulders as she covers him with her wings. Alright. Anon gives a nod. So, what's the plan? Celestia looks to her sister.
Seeing as we have a good foundation to start from, I think we should put our heads together to gain the most appropriate forms of punishment.
Luna gives her sister a strong nod. She would assure that these ponies will rue the day that they thought they could harm her friend.
Till that time comes...
Celestia breaks a silence.
How would you like to continue your stay here, Anon?
Anon chuckles on the inside. Despite all this serious stuff, he feels oddly good about this entire thing. Sure. How about some lunch? He offers.
That sounds like a great idea,
Celestia says.
Shall I call a servant?
Anon shakes his head. I actually have a different idea. Both sisters look at each other just before they look to Anon. He stands up, breaking away from Luna's hold. He walks to the dining hall door and turns back briefly to wave the two to follow him. The princesses give each other one unsure glance as they rise from their seats to follow after Anon. I have a very slight feeling that they're gonna cook lunch together. If they don't, I'd be genuinely shocked, but I have a feeling that's what's gonna happen. Anywho, let's get on to our princes and princesses of donators. Top donators: TacoCat598, Peter Coulthard, J Tinman, Darkside, Gauntlet, and Only One Thing. Zar630, Strix, Raiden, Narwhals, Black Moonheart, Drake Lovedragon, Pastel Skies, Dospo, Madman Stan, Delta Omega, Jack Cadge, Runescythe9852, Hunter Norman, Dash of Evergreen, Rhynie Dragonwolf, Ponyman, Tal Rasha, The Toilet Snake, Sword Brother and Mordred, Ronin Wandering, Random Person Man Guy, Easy, Skyuchia, Leslie Prickett, Jordan Peterson, Crimson Kitten A9, Lightskin, Monster Kitty, Tim Bob, Needs a Life, and many more royal people. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and live life to the fullest.